Okay, so up to this point I've been showing you a bunch of different parts of CSS and what the different elements are going to look like here, but I think it's going to make more sense if we can actually take a look at a sample of how this is going to work within an HTML document before we go too much further. So what I've got is just a basic HTML file set up with one paragraph of text. Now remember that all text just comes in using the basic HTML styles, which I've got an example here in my browser. You can see it's a serif font. Looks like probably about 10 or 12 point font. The leading on it is, pretty average here. But what we can do is we can go in and create our own styles for that to give it a little bit more unique of a look. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to set up our style. In this case, we're going to use a certain type of style that's called internal style. I'm going to show you all the different types after this video, but for this case, we're going to put it right here in the head. So I'm going to put a couple spaces here just so we've got room to see what I'm doing. And what we do is we start out our styles within the head of the document. Remember, here's the opening and closing tag of the head. And right here, we're going to just type in the word style, just like we would any other HTML tag. So we get the less than symbol, closes with the greater than, and then we close it out with the / style right there. All right, so here's where I can put my styles. For this example, I'm just going to create a class. Now, if you remember from the previous videos, the class, you come up with whatever name you want to name it. And the class starts with a period. So that's what I'm going to do here is I'm going to create my very first style right in between the style tags. I'm just going to call this one sample text. Now remember, these are not defined, so you come up with whatever name you want. And because it's a class, it starts with a period there. Now, to start my styles, everything that I call sample text is going to be whatever styles I put within a couple brackets here. So I'm going to do an open curly bracket, and Dreamweaver put the closing curly bracket there. So just like with everything else with HTML, whatever opens, closes. So now the styles actually go within there are predefined. So there will be a list at the end of this video. I'll show you where you can find more of these. But for right now, we're just going to go with a couple basic ones that I know off the top of my head. And we're going to do, let's say we want to stylize the font family. And that is the font that you're actually seeing here. So say font. And you can see in Dreamweaver, as with most of the different HTML editing programs, they come up with what it thinks you're trying to type into here. So I'm going to say font family. And within there, you end it with a colon. And then you can choose from all different fonts. Now, font family says, all right, try this first font. And if it isn't a font that that person has on their computer, try this next one. And if you don't have that, try this one. If you don't have that, try this one and that one until you basically end up saying, just make it a serif or sans serif font. And if you remember from previous videos as well, these fonts have to be on the user's computer for them to display. So this way it gives it a couple different options with a font that someone may have on their site, or excuse me, on their computer, and it gives you a little bit more ability to create something unique and stylish here. So I'm going to say, let's go ahead and make impact. So that'd be the main font that it tries to use if the person doesn't have that font on their computer to keep on trying the next one, the next one, the next one, until it basically just comes up and says sans serif. All right, so the way we close out one of these styles here is we end it with a semicolon. Now we can start a new style. So I could say font size, and I'll do a colon, not a semicolon, but a colon, and I'll define the size of it. So let's say 18 point. Now it's going to be pretty big, especially with that big, thick font that I got going up there. And we go ahead and close it out with a semicolon. I'll hit return. I'll do another one. Let's say we want to change the font, the font color. Let's go ahead and do that one. So that one is simply color, not font color, just color. And, oops, color. And I'll do another colon. Now, colors are defined a couple different ways. They're either using hexadecimal colors, which we'll cover a little bit later, or they're using just a word that, as you can see right here, there are some predefined colors that you can use just by a word. So let's go ahead and say, let's try that blue right there. That's fine. And like I said, we'll get into hexadecimal colors later on. All right, so let's go ahead and end with that right now. That's enough. We've changed the font family, we've changed the font color, and changed the font size. Now, I can save my document. I can go over to HTML editor, or excuse me, I can go over to the HTML browser here, and I can hit refresh, but nothing's going to change here, okay? Nothing's changing because I haven't applied that style to this text. So what I have to do is tell it where in the document I want to use sample text. Where do I want that to look? So, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to make two different paragraphs just so you can see the difference here. So I've got one paragraph. I'm going to go ahead and just duplicate that just so you can see the difference here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add this class, sample text. I'm going to go ahead and copy that. I'm not copying the period, I'm just copying the word sample text. I'm going to apply that to my paragraph tag here. So what I would do is within that paragraph tag, got the P, right after the P, I'll hit a space, and I'll say class, because it has the period that makes it a class, equals, and then in quotes, I put my class name. Alright, so it's saying anything within this paragraph tag here, apply the class sample text. And that sample text is going to look like this. Now this paragraph did not get a class added to it, so this should still look like it did before. So let's go ahead and save the document. We'll come back to our browser and we'll hit refresh this time. Now we should see two paragraphs. One is using the large impact font, that blue color that we chose, and it's 18 point. Well, the second paragraph, which we did not apply a style to, is still the original default font. So hopefully that starts to shed a little bit of light on what we're going to be doing here. I'm going to show you next a couple different ways to apply your styles, and then after that we'll move on to bigger and bigger projects. But again, for right now, you make up whatever class you want, but you have to add predefined style attributes to it, and then you apply it to something within your document.